You never know who you're talking to, and sometimes the person you judge the fastest is the one who ends up teaching you the biggest lesson. It was a humid Tuesday afternoon in Atlanta, Georgia, the kind of day where the air sticks to your skin and tempers hang on a thread. Officer Maya Robinson had just finished a long shift at the precinct, 12 hours, 3 arrests, and no lunch break. She was exhausted, still in uniform, but had taken off her outer vest. Her badge and radio were clipped at her waist, slightly covered by her casual black jacket. Maya didn't look like the typical cop, at least, not to folks who weren't used to seeing a black woman in authority. And today, all she wanted was a new pair of sneakers for her niece's birthday. So she stopped at Valley Point Mall, a well-known shopping plaza on the city's north side. The kind of place where you're greeted with glass storefronts, whitewashed walls, and a lingering air of status. She walked into Stride and Soul, a boutique sneaker store owned by a man named Alan Foster, a white man in his 50s, dressed in designer clothes, with his eyes always scanning. The moment Maya stepped in, his glance froze. Maya didn't think much of it. She was used to the double takes, the subtle once-overs, and the "can I help you" that really meant, "are you in the right place?" She walked toward a pair of Jordan 4 retros on display, her niece's dream shoes. But before she could touch the display, she heard it. "Ma'am, can I help you with something?" "Yes, just browsing, thanks." Alan didn't move. His eyes didn't soften. In fact, they narrowed. "I just want to make sure. We've had some incidents lately. You understand?" Maya, still, I'm not sure I do, but I'll let you know if I need anything." Narrator. He lingered, then walked back behind the register, never turning his back. Then quietly, he pressed a button under the counter. Seconds later, 2 private security officers entered the store. Narrator. Pause. Lower tone. Maya had seen this dance before, too many times. But today was going to be different. Security guard. Firm. "Ma'am, we've had a report of suspicious behavior. We're going to have to ask you to leave." Maya, calm but assertive. "Suspicious? I just walked in." Alan, shrugging smug. "Look, let's not make this a thing. We reserve the right to refuse service. You don't need to cause a scene." Narrator. Maya stared at him. The disrespect, the assumption, the audacity. She took a breath, and then she reached into her jacket. "Maya," holding it up. "Detective Maya Robinson, Atlanta PD. You just called security on a police officer." Narrator with a smirk. You could have heard a pin drop. Security guard, awkward. Ma'am, we didn't know." Alan, stammering. "Look, I didn't mean anything by it. It's just, well, sometimes people..." "You weren't in full uniform." And Maya, cutting him off. "No, I don't know. Why don't you explain it to me?" Narrator, his face flushed, red like fire ants, caught between pride and panic. Alan. "I just thought you looked out of place." Maya. "Out of place in a store that sells shoes that I can afford while wearing a badge." Narrator. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her presence was power, her silence thunder. Maya. "I've spent the last 12 hours protecting this city, including stores like yours, and in 5 seconds you decided I didn't belong here." Narrator. Alan shifted, his confidence crumbling. Alan. "Look, I'm sorry. I really am. Can I get you a discount on those shoes?" Maya. "You think a discount erases disrespect?" Narrator. Maya turned to the security guards. "Maya, is this how you handle suspicious behavior? Based on what?" Security guard. Quietly. "No, ma'am. We were just following the call." Maya. "Next time, maybe ask questions before making assumptions. Or you'll find yourself filing reports, not just escorting shoppers." Narrator. She put the badge back, turned to walk away, but then paused. Maya. "Oh, and by the way, I'll be filing a formal complaint. Discrimination in a place of public. Accommodation is still illegal. You might want to brush up on that." 3 days later, Alan Foster received a visit from the Department of Civil Rights. Turns out, this wasn't the first time a customer had filed a complaint against his store. Pattern was forming, and this time it was documented with badge numbers and body cams. Maya didn't go back to Stride and Soul, but she did go sneaker shopping again, this time at a black-owned shop on the west side, where she was treated like the queen she was. Her niece got her Jordans, and Maya, she walked away with her dignity intact, and another reminder of why representation matters. You see, it's easy to judge someone by what they look like. But if you're not careful, the assumptions you make might just be the ones that cost you the most, because that woman you called suspicious, she might be the very person who shows up when your world is on fire, and next time she just might not be shopping. She might be holding a warrant. If you were moved by this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have you ever been misjudged based on your appearance? Drop your story in the comments. Hit the bell so you never miss another powerful story with a purpose. In a world where judgments are often made in the blink of an eye, one woman's quiet strength challenges an entire system and forces a man to confront the consequences of his assumptions. This is the story of how a single act of bias nearly cost a man everything, until the woman he tried to humiliate showed him exactly who she was. The boutique is pristine, white walls, glass counters, and mannequins draped in luxury. Jazz plays softly. The scent of expensive perfume lingers in the air. It was a slow Thursday morning at DeLuca's Boutique, an upscale clothing store tucked in the heart of downtown Chicago. The owner, Marco DeLuca, sipped espresso behind the counter, casually scrolling through his phone. He was proud of his store, proud of the clientele it attracted. Celebrities, socialites, the occasional politician's wife. He liked to say he had a sixth sense about people. Too bad that sense failed him the moment she walked in. The bell over the door jingles. A black woman enters, mid-30s, confident posture, tailored black suit, no makeup. Her eyes scan the room calmly. Marco, under breath. "Here we go." The woman walks past racks of dresses and blazers. Her name is Detective Brielle Carter, but Marco doesn't know that. All he sees is someone he thinks doesn't belong. Brielle Carter wasn't your average shopper. She wasn't loud, she wasn't flashy, she didn't carry a designer bag. But she walked like someone who had power, and that always threatened men like Marco. Marco watches as Brielle carefully inspects a display of silk blouses. Marco, fake smile. "Can I help you with something?" Brielle, calmly. "Just browsing, thank you." Marco's smile tightens. He stays behind the counter but watches her like a hawk. He taps the store's silent security button. A tall, muscular security guard, Tom, enters from a back room. He walks toward Brielle, who is now looking at a coat. Tom, firmly. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leave the store." Brielle, blinking, confused. "Excuse me?" Marco, stepping forward. "We've had some incidents lately. People casing the place. You understand. Just a precaution." Brielle, slowly. "I've touched exactly 2 blouses and a coat. And now you're accusing me of stealing, Tom. No one said that. We're just asking you to leave." Narrator. There it was, that polite racism, that careful condescension, the unspoken, "You don't belong here." Brielle looks down, then reaches into her jacket. Marco flinches slightly. Tom's hand moves toward his belt. Brielle, coolly, "Relax." She pulls out a leather badge wallet and flips it open. It glints under the boutique's lights. Brielle, Detective Brielle Carter, Chicago PD. Major Crimes Division. Want to try that again? Tom steps back. Marco's face goes pale. Marco, I didn't mean to offend. You have to understand, we've had shoplifting issues before, and Brielle, cutting him off. "Let me guess. None of the actual thieves looked like me, but somehow you saw a black woman and assumed." She steps forward, her voice low but deadly calm. "Brielle, You think your expensive cologne and marble floors give you permission to treat people like suspects? I've investigated murderers with more sense than you. She flips the badge shut. Brielle, you just profiled a law enforcement officer in your own store. Imagine how you treat people without a badge. Brielle Carter wasn't born with a badge in her hand. She grew up in the south side of Chicago, raised by a single mother who worked 2 jobs and still managed to keep food on the table. Brielle had seen what happened when the system failed people who looked like her. By the time she was 13, she'd already watched friends get arrested, family members harassed, neighbors evicted. But her mother used to say, "Don't fight fire with fire. Fight it with excellence." Cut to a montage. Brielle at school, always top of her class, training at the academy, solving cases, getting promoted. She didn't want pity, she wanted justice. And she had earned the badge she now wore through sweat, scars, and relentless determination. Marco DeLuca, on the other hand, had never wanted for much. Born into a family of luxury retail, he inherited the boutique from his father. He liked to pretend he built it himself. Cut to Marco in college parties, designer shoes, fraternity life. He's always been comfortable. He's never been questioned. But that comfort came with blind spots. He didn't hate anyone. He just noticed things. He noticed who loitered, who dressed right, who he thought could afford his merchandise. Bias wrapped in politeness. Prejudice hidden behind a smirk. Brielle, firm. Do you realize how dangerous your assumptions are? Marco, nervous. Look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean Brielle. You called security on me because I'm black. Don't dance around it. She pulls out her phone and begins recording. Brielle, to camera. This is DeLuca's boutique, where they assume a black woman in a suit is a criminal. I wonder what the city will think, Marco. Please don't post that. Brielle, without looking up. Why not? You're so proud of your instincts. Brielle never posted the video, but someone did. A customer who had walked in near the end. It racked up views overnight. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube all flooded with the same headline. Store owner profiles black detective instantly regrets it. Cut to news clips. Protests outside the store. Hashtags trending. Yelp reviews plummeting. Marco tried to explain. He went on the local news. Marco, TV interview. I was just trying to protect my store. Anchor, by calling security on a police detective in a tailored suit. Marco stammers. He looks small. Brielle sits at a diner with her mother who sips tea and watches the news coverage on her phone. Mother, you always did have a flair for the dramatic. Brielle laughs. I didn't even post it. But maybe it was time. Someone caught it on tape. Mother, you know your grandmother couldn't even try on dresses in stores like that. They'd hand her something and make her guess the size. They sit in silence for a moment. Mother, softly, you're the dream of every woman who came before you. Brielle nods. And the nightmare of every man who can't see past his own prejudice. Few weeks later, Brielle receives a letter. Handwritten, Dear Detective Carter, I was wrong. There's no excuse. You didn't owe me grace, but you gave me truth instead, and I'm listening. I've started mandatory anti-bias training for all my employees. I'm changing our policies. I won't ask for your forgiveness, but I hope one day people like me can earn it. Marco, narrator. Some lessons are painful. Some justice is silent. But when ignorance is exposed, it has no choice but to evolve. Brielle didn't reply. She didn't need to. Cut to a girl walking into DeLuca's boutique. She's 16, black, and nervously holding her mother's hand. She's wearing her first pair of heels. A new employee, a young black man in a crisp uniform, smiles. Employee, welcome to DeLuca's. Can I help you find anything? The girl smiles back. One woman's strength didn't just change a moment, it changed a mindset. Because sometimes the most powerful badge is the truth.